How have you been? It's lovely to read about what's rising for you and how you beautifully express the objective of our meeting. I love what you've written there. You know,
What did I write? I can't remember now.
so you spoke about how to develop a presence that transforms.
Transformational presence.
Transformation.
Yeah,
But I
yes.
believe that is the second question. I believe it belongs after the second question. The second question was how to. Um, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if I'm wording it right, which is to how to experience that oneness that I have with the Creator.
Yeah. I I was very interested in those things that you said that you were wanting to achieve this year. Highlighted them. Growing devotion and love in my consciousness, help me to serve more selflessly, dissolve ego and separation from the creator. I mean, I think that there's a lot of overlap with with where I'm at. And I
And
think, well, I guess most people, if they think about it, or a lot of people.
yeah, and now that you read it back to me, if I have spoken about it, it looks like I'm talking about climbing the Mount Everest. It is such an ambition, and yet it is. I feel that we are supported to go forward. We are. It's not up
Yeah,
to us to have such ambitions, but it's like gravity pulling you downwards towards it. Rather, it's if we give up resistance, that's where we are headed anyhow.
yeah. But even Mount Everest is one step at a time, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this step is rather than uphill, it is downhill. It's more comforting.
Yes.
Every step
Yeah,
only. You
yeah.
know, you give.
It did. Yeah, I think it's uphill for the first part of our life, um, and then it levels out and maybe goes
I
downhill.
get it.
But there's still a destination always to reach, isn't there?
There is. Say more
And
about that.
there's always there's always no destination to reach. There's always
Mm,
the journey, and and
yeah.
whatever level of consciousness, for example, that we get to, there's always going to be another level.
Mm, mm. Till
And,
till we give up
yeah,
the attachment to the levels and we are willing to let be, or that it is actually the mentally created levels.
yes,
In the
yes,
silence, we always are, and in the center, and that's why we know that there is a center calling.
yeah, yeah. Alan Seale, that book that VanderPol referred to when he did the four levels of engagement. I'm still busy with it. I've been doing a lot of journaling and whatever. It's really good. Now I've forgotten what I was going to say about it. Just remind me what you said.
I
Uh,
spoke about how we are to the center. We are somehow in the
uh,
center again and again. That's why we know it's calling to us.
yeah, yeah. He he talks about the point of stillness
Hmm.
um, as a as part of meditation. But it really is, if we can get to the point of stillness, and I think that's also in terms of our trajectory, our journey that we're talking about. Um,
Yeah,
it's a point of stillness, and
yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah.
I've
I
also come
like
to
how.
feel. Sorry, were you saying something?
No, no.
I was
Okay.
also saying, uh, in the Indian Hindu spirituality, there is a context of Shiva and Shakti. There is a context of the masculine and the feminine idea of approaching the stillness. So
Oh,
there is this idea of, I could be interpreting it in my own personal way. So you don't take it as if this is how it is written or other people will talk about it. This is how I have come to relate it. There's this idea that we approach stillness, which is as if we are approaching our awareness upon, or we are taking our awareness to the stillness. It's as if the masculine idea of concentrating, making
Yes.
something happen, going somewhere, doing something, penetrating into stillness. And the other
Yes.
is the idea of patiently waiting for stillness and
Yes.
allowing the stillness to kind of descend upon us, being open, the feminine idea of allowing the stillness to. And it's not that one is superior to the other. In fact, the Indian, parallel that I draw is about of the alternate current of,
Yeah.
there is this idea of churning, the good and the bad forces churning. So it's one
Yes.
way and the other. That's the masculine and the feminine alternating. At certain point of time, you approach the stillness when you're in that phase, and then there is times then now you are open for the stillness to be upon you
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
enter you, to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. It reminds me a little bit of yin and yang,
Yes.
um, and and also in the Tao Te Ching, if I've said it
Mm,
correctly,
Tao.
uh, being desirous and desireless.
Mm,
Um, so the desirous is obviously the male part, the masculine part,
yeah.
and the desireless is the feminine part. I always find when I get myself into trouble, whatever that means,
Mm,
it's because I've been too desirous,
mm,
and I haven't been able to just be desireless. As soon as I let go and become desireless, whatever I'm looking for manifests itself,
yeah.
and yet I still learn the lesson.
Yeah. It's that idea of not resisting what's coming. It's as if it's already coming and it's for us to kind of stop blocking it. No, and it appears to be the
Yes,
malady of the times that we believe if I didn't do anything, then nothing would happen. It's that masculine is more present
yes,
for the entire society. So this idea of now, being versus doing appears to be very attractive. It's as if the feminine is wanting to rise, or
yeah,
it's that celebrating of allowing, appreciating. In fact, in the Christian context, I was reading the Course in Miracles. I was
yes,
stunned by the beauty of this idea of redemption, how the Course in Miracles turns it into a feminine idea. And it talks about one is an idea of I am redeemed, I'm, forgiven, or you forgive me, the God, Lord forgives me. But A Course in Miracles says that's not what redemption is. Redemption is I completely accept redemption. I permit myself to be forgiven. I receive forgiveness fully. That means I let it in. The love that is coming to me, I am not loving as a masculine idea of not just loving by I love the Lord or the Creator. I approach it with the masculine force of attention and awareness. That's the masculine idea of awareness.
yes,
I sit back and I allow that you love me, and
yes,
I fully, and I begin to notice how there is a little resistance that I've been having to receiving redemption and forgiveness and love. So I open myself that I am indeed forgiven and
mm,
loved. That opens a new, yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it also it talks to me about the ego-centric part of masculinity
Mm.
um, that almost drives us,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
What
that
am I?
we need to resolve in order to be,
Yeah,
allow
yeah,
the feminine part to come in, to allow the love.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we don't have to do love.
No, we have to allow or be love or. So I was talking to Leon during a trip to Delhi. The author of I was telling him I feel and that the opposite of doing is not being.
Okay.
The I felt that the opposite of doing is allowing. Being is in the center. Doing and allowing,
Yes.
profiting, appreciating, and as if patiently sitting back and celebrating what's rising, as if the idea of Tao, where it's the idea of the Tao of leadership, where you are actually the container of leadership, and
Yeah.
to rise, and you are when you are in perfect balance of doing and allowing, then you are in the center being. Then you're at the self fulcrum. That's why this idea of being appears to be very elusive. In the Indian vocabulary, there is this idea of the three channels of uh, current or neural currents which are going. One is the masculine force of doing.
Mm.
These are they talk about the three nerves which are going from top to bottom: Ida,
Yeah.
Pingala, and Sushumna. So one is an idea of masculine, that you are making stuff happen for majority of people in the present times, and the context says that for some people this is more dominant. Because this is more dominant, therefore a certain kind of organs begin to get impacted, and according to this philosophy, this nerve is not going all the way vertically down, it is actually coiled, so it is impacting some organs on the right, some on the left, and
Okay.
and and the opposite is, which is this idea of allowing, appreciating, celebrating, uh, sitting back and um, permitting to make it happen. And yet you're not disengaged. You're not leaving it. It's as if you're totally being with, and yet you are
Yeah.
not the one who's making happen. So
Yeah.
now between them, there is another nerve which is going, which is nearly invisible. And in the physical context, it is spoken about the three rivers in India: Ganga, which is Ganges, the Ganga, which is the holy river; Yamuna, which is actually the other river; and Saraswati, which is now not visible. There is no river called Saraswati anymore. It is spoken of as a river which is going under the earth because it is
Okay.
subtle. So now what is happening is this subtle idea is being, which is very difficult to grasp, and it is subtle. So you are neither not doing, neither you are not permitting. So you're both. You're somewhere in the center, and you're where this idea of doing and allowing appears to get meaningless. You are only the mind is trying to still fathom and trying to get clarity over it, but now you're in the center, so there is no mind. So it gets more
Yeah.
complicated. You can't describe it, therefore you can't see it. You can't speak of it. It's just that invisible current, and that's Sushumna. I,
That's
I
really
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
I,
I don't know
I,
where I went with this.
yeah, I mean, that's very thought provoking because I would, I would have said, and I think it's about where I'm at,
Mm,
at
mm,
the moment, is that allowing would be in the middle,
mm,
um, because it's partially doing because
mm,
I need to allow.
mm.
Okay, it's, and then being is at the other end of the continuum. If I can just, if I, if it comes naturally, then allowing will, will, will be a
Yeah.
being thing.
Yeah, possible, but maybe you may be right. I felt that when I was discovering this idea of being and allowing for the first time, it shows up as if, oh, this is it. All for me, it showed up as if this is it. I mean, but I was heavily into doing. This is the answer. Now when I begin to find, you know what? This at this end, we can be as flawed at this as we are at this end. For example, here there's too much push happening, too much, anxiety, stress. I need to make stuff happen. I need to tighten myself into focus and attention and concentrate into meditation. At this end, there is such openness that I'm not up to anything at all.
Yeah,
I give stuff up so completely that there is also a possibility of disengagement, the possibility of apathy or lack of energy, lack or disengaging, becoming disconnected. So I'm not yet fully ready to create a balance at this end. So there is a little balance that I must draw from the positive of doing, and I must draw from the positives of allowing
Yeah.
me. Yeah. In fact, at
I,
every chakra, at every energy center, it appears to take a different meaning, I feel. Go on, you
okay.
were saying something.
No, I think that the word balance,
Hmm.
because it's not binary, it's not either or,
No, no.
it's and.
Yeah,
And as soon as I get that, then I feel more comfortable about what
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but it's difficult. But I come back to desirous and desireless.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, I've had situations a long time ago, 2000 and forget now. I think it was about 2009, and um, I I had I managed to get a big project with a big insurance company in South Africa for a sizable amount. And we closed the deal in the beginning of September. And I was banking on money. I actually needed the money at that stage. So I drove myself to make sure that I covered all of my bases and got things done.
Yeah,
And then that they didn't pay. They didn't pay. I would contact them, and there'd be some excuse for whatever. I didn't get shirty with them. I just was doing what I could do, being very desirous, and and
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and then at the beginning of December, about the second week of December, uh, there were two other things that happened. I can't remember. Um, I come back to that. One of which was that I read the first verse of the Tao Te Ching.
Mm.
Okay, and um, and so I had this desireless thing, but I was still desirous after that. And then in the second week of December, it just for me, I just realized I said, well, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I could be sequestrated. That's not going to happen. It's far away from that. Okay. And I just let go. 2 weeks later, on my birthday, the day before Christmas, the money was in the bank. You know,
Wow.
but I also had to let go and then let go again because
Yeah,
the first one was a let go, but
yeah.
yeah, and then
I completely resonate with that. It's beautiful what you shared, and there are, I mean, this reminds me of so many incidents in my life. One that comes to my life is, perhaps the most coveted assignment for job for me was to go and teach at the university of my master. There was an opportunity for me, and I was still in the corporate assignment, and I was getting drawing big salary. At that time, I went as a guest lecturer for the MBA students. The context of the university, just to set it, it's a place where which was set up for spiritual reasons. The programs are all around science, MBA, and commerce, and all other courses are there. It's set up in a far-flung village, so there is a little bit disconnect from the urban life as well. It's a very simplistic ashram kind of life. So I visited there during the corporate, with the latter part of my corporate life, and I found that atmosphere to be uh, drawing to my heart, really compelling. That this is unbelievably beautiful. There were no air conditioners, but and in a very hot setting, but yet the place was so clean, green, and natural that a simple fan appears to make it was really drawing to me. So I spoke to
yeah,
my father, who was still around at that time, and my wife, and I said, I don't know how it works, but I feel we really wish that I could come and be here for some time. My father really loved the idea because he was, following the same master. I was completely in love with him. My wife also said, "Sure, go ahead and talk to them and see if it opens anything. Why not? Why not?" I said, "But how will you make it work?" Because we were living in the city, Delhi, and this was in a village far away, far off Bangalore, some 2.5 hours in Andhra Pradesh. So um, I anyhow encouraged by them. I asked them, "How will we make it work? We don't know, but anyhow, talk to them. Let's see what happens." So I went and spoke, applied, and the gentleman I was talking to, he said, "Okay, write to us. We'll now, and then we'll wait. Whenever if that's it's up to you and up to God for it to be accepted. It's not up to us. So let's see if everything falls in place. Maybe something will happen." So it
Yeah.
was as if the guy saying that, "Okay, you're most welcome to apply." He did not like discourage me. He said, "You're most welcome to apply. I promise you nothing, but it's not because I am not going to do something about it. It depends upon so many parameters. Actually, that depends upon God." Fine, I
Yeah.
wrote to them, and for 2 years, no reply. In the meanwhile, I got fired from the assignment that I was into, and got another one. Left that, couldn't love any corporate setting anymore, and now I was between jobs. Desperately, at that time, I was learning to be a coach. I had done the programs. The practice hadn't taken off. There was nothing much happening. And in the meanwhile, I had come to the ashram to do some work, to do some seva, voluntary work. And at that point of time, I'm again called for I'm sent a letter that if you are still interested, 2 years after my letter, if you are still interested, why don't you come and teach a course, teach a class, and it's like an interview. And if you go through, if that goes well, then
Yeah.
we'll invite you for a formal interview, and you may be offered a position.
Yes.
So now I had, of course, given up on that. And now I was very excited, went, taught the class. I felt it went very, very well. I prepared. And then they had said that the interview, if at all it has to happen, will happen on the third day. So there's only one day in the middle, teaching the class, one day in the middle, and the third day is the interview. During the day in the middle, I'm praying that it'll come through. This is the best ever position for me. I mean, it's like my life's
Yes.
realization is the best ever. I really needed it to happen because this is where I felt answers to everything, all my questions. I was finding them, or they were showing up for me. No mail, no reply from them, nothing. So if it didn't come till the end of the day, nothing will happen. That means you're not the one selected.
Yes.
I go back. I go into the evening prayers now, praying that if it is not happening, give me the acceptance to be happy with your will, with Creator's will that it's not happening. I come back feeling really peaceful and happy that Lord is choosing what is right for me. And if this is not to happen, it's great. And I was actually happy about both ways. And that is when I found that the letter had actually gone to my son's mailbox, and now you're again in. And so I'm going into the interview room next day, completely all right with if it happens or if it doesn't happen.
Yes.
I completely get what you're saying, this desire and desireless. And yet there is not this idea of this desirelessness is not a negative idea. It's that idea
Mm.
of being in completely open anticipation, which means what happens is and
Allowing.
allowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's flowing. I'm
Yeah.
celebrating.
Allowing, acceptance. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, it's that feminine idea of celebrating the joy of what's coming. It's beautiful either ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet, my master says at least you ought to know what do you want. He says that at least be clear. You be clear so that the Lord knows. He says his name is Sri Satya Sai. So he says the South Indian accent, it talks about S as yes, yes, yes. He says my name is yes, yes, yes. You got to know what is the question. What do you want? So he doesn't say that you build. He's very clear. Don't build desire. Don't be
Mm.
desirous, as you were saying. Don't be like.
Yeah.
But yet what is your option? What is the what? Like for example, prepare, like you
Yes.
said. It's that Gita's message, or Bhagavad Gita's message, which is about you still have to do the work. So
Yeah.
action must happen as well. Doing must
Mm.
happen as well. And then you've got to disengage from the results that I'm so grateful with whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. It leads me to one of the other topics that you were talking about. That was dissolving separation from the Creator. And
Mm.
and and when we praying, talk me through, because I don't have any um, real understanding of the Hindu religion. Um, how how does one manage to pray and yet not be separate?
Mm. How does one pray and not be separate? Beautiful question. It's a beautiful question. So, uh, I'm reading something, one more book. So
Between
this is
us.
so this is about the energy centers, chakras. You know, we and there is no actual physical presence of any energy centers or chakras anywhere in our body. Dissection will not reveal anything, but these are as if when we are engaged with certain kind of attitude, certain kind of mental activity, certain kind of engagement with life, some part of our body appears to be more engaged than the other, and that appears to be about energy centers. So we've got to create freedom in all aspects of our life. Our life force itself ought to be feeling fully alive, vibrant, happy, engaged,
Yeah.
energized. I mean, that's the objective of life, happiness, as we call it, full engagement and thoroughly joyful, full. And that doesn't mean that everything is good, but you are attacking with great joy. So,
Yes.
so in that idea, the first chakra is the place where we are sitting, the seat on which we are sitting. It's called the Mooladhara, which is actually about fundamental foundation of being. It's fundamental foundation. Mool Adhar means fundamental foundation, as if the same word repeated twice. The root chakra. It's the fundamental. And that idea, if it is that I am here, I'm here. It's idea of being grounded in the reality of my being who I am, in the context of where I'm standing and my history, which means I am not resisting any part of who I am. I'm fully owning who I am, but not in a mental way in which I need to remember everything about it, but in a fashion in which I am centered in who I am, and I'm not shaky about it. I'm not doubtful and uncertain and resisting any part of who I am. That means I am not resisting if I start thinking about things that my parents and my history and the experiences that I went through. But energetically, I am here and I matter. It's that kind of an idea. I'm here, I matter. Uh, and the and if that chakra, that the opposite of that, or what do you need to overcome the flaw that we have as an opposite of this certainty, clarity of being me, that is self-doubt, that is anxiety, anxiousness, you know, uncertainty,
Yeah.
uh, as if a little bit fickle mindedness. You know, I'm I'm not so sure kind of feeling.
Yes.
So so this idea again approached in a masculine fashion is approached like I am and I matter. So it's an affirmation and it's a positive affirmation because the one that I'm affirming I am is not my ego self. I'm not saying Amit is who I am. I'm actually saying that that the good one, the certain the self, capital S, the unity with creator is who I am. The one with creation is who I am. That's and I'm affirming it in a masculine fashion. I'm pushing my energy down into my seat. I'm actually becoming rooted into Mother Earth. I'm actually saying I am. I am. Can you feel the energy of this? It as if
Yeah.
makes us feel certain and clear. And I'm absolutely certain. And I make my back straight, anchor into my being. And yes, I am this person. That's a masculine idea of doing it.
Yeah.
So I am saying I am the one with the creator in an affirmative fashion. I'm saying. And who's declaring it? The one who I am. This one is declaring, not this persona, the story that okay, give me your resume and I'll start talking about this guy. Not the memory of Amit, but actually this one who I truly am is declaring this. That's a
Yeah.
masculine way. But there is equally a feminine way to do the exactly same thing. And then I think that's the question that speaks to it, which is this idea of becoming open and not allowing myself to descend into who I truly am, giving up resistance and becoming opposite of anxious, which is that as if I'm becoming assured
Yeah.
and I'm descending into myself and I'm allowing myself to be that I'm one, that I am the one, I'm
Yeah.
one with, and I am the one. So it's as if one and the other. The prayer is not to the other, but it is a prayer to uh, the presence of
Yes.
divinity, which is in proximity, which is really proximal. It's here. The
Yes.
divinity is not really far. It's so close that it's me, and I'm
Mm.
not affirming it, and at the same time I'm actually allowing it to be so. I'm
Yeah.
allowing it to fall upon me as, and I'm open like a flower to receive that I am. You
Yeah.
know, that's the
It's
first chakra.
beautiful.
That's just the first
Yeah.
chakra.
Yeah.
And so
That's beautiful.
you stand in that first thought, and it grows over time, and you overcome that uncertainty, doubt, of, and it shows up practically in life. So you appear to be more confident, more self-assured, more self-belief, less shaky. I'm saying like that the fundamental foundation of our being is approached through an active masculine idea of affirmation and a feminine idea of descending when we let go
Yeah.
into ourselves,
Yeah.
into our center of who we truly are at the essence level, one with the divine.
Yeah. I think the two things that came up for me were one was the feminine side sounds a lot um, like that point of stillness that I was talking about,
Yeah.
um, where we're really deep into our bodies, which is
Mm. Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
the
Yes.
chakra that you were talking
Yes.
about.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and it's absolutely still inside and out. It's
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing that I wondered was um, that I think our Western way of maybe a similar thing, of describing a similar thing, is our soul as opposed to our ego, uh,
Mm.
or our higher self, or higher consciousness, or one of those one of those things. And so that gets, from the stuff I've been reading in the last 6 months, gets really close to consciousness with a capital C,
Mm.
God, or whatever we want to call it. Um,
Spirit, as Leon called or relates to
Spirit, yeah,
aspects of
yeah, yeah,
it. See, the Indian spirituality also engages with ideas of dualism, and it is just an entire spectrum. It's just the idea of Hinduism permits whatever you please. It's as if okay, it's like a philosophy of exploration. Okay, is that what you are attracted to? Say, for example, dualism is this idea that God's separate from me, and I love, and He protects me, and He is present for me, and I'm totally uh, lost in love. So there's no ego left out of love. Devotion is a method. That's my way, the way that I approach it.
yes,
Some people would choose to say that dualism, separate, but in great appreciation, as if there is sun and I'm totally separate. Who am I? I'm really nothing in comparison. So you
yes,
dissolve yourself into nothingness and therefore rise into the oneness with Lord
yeah,
by losing yourself.
yeah,
And then there is something in the middle as well, which is the idea of qualified non-dualism, which is this idea that you are the ocean, I am the wave. So I'm somehow, which I can't figure out, but I'm still somehow part of you, but I'm also separate.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I have
Yeah,
heard that before. Yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. The other thing that came to mind was the idea at an emotional level. Um, is I've always believed that the psychologists might take me apart for this, but um, there are two basic emotions. One is love and one is fear. And
Mm,
and so the uncertainty, the anxiety that you talked about is the
mm,
fear part. And then but it's probably a different chakra.
It is the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
But
and and then love is the feminine side.
mm, mm. The second chakra as about is about um, a, our making ourselves in harmony with our emotions as our sensations. So underneath our emotions, like for example, fear, like so when we speak about fear, if I discard the word fear, fear, I peel the label off, the raw fear is still present.
Hmm.
It's still present. How do I know that it is present? Because it's there in my thoughts. Now, if I discard the conversation that there is a bus coming at full pace, or there's a tiger which might be lurking in the dark, or whatever, even if I give up thinking, even then the fear is present. How do I know that it is present? Because my body is showing symptoms of
Yeah,
that. My heart's beating really fast, and there are some sensations present. So the conversations are transient. The labels are meaningless because they belong in different languages in different ways. So what is absolutely certain is the sensation of each emotion.
yeah,
So that and if I am able to feel the emotion as
yes,
the sensation, that means just pay attention to the sensation, that underneath all emotions there is a sensation. If I'm willing to be present to the sensation, then the sensation begins to dissolve. That
yes,
means the reason that my sensations are alive or stay alive, which is anxiety, anger, or sadness, all of them, because I'm actually engaged at the thought level or conversational level. I'm not going on the sensation level, and truth is here. It is absolutely real. Sadness is real, but it's actually in the body. So if I pay attention to it and I give up resistance to the sensation, then it doesn't persist. The resistance makes us
yes,
persist. And
yeah,
if I can bring myself to feel it, then I can heal it. You know, if I can be with it, then it'll let me be. There's absolutely, it begins to dissolve. So that's the second chakra. Second chakra is also about as if the negative emotions, I allow them to show up and I pay acute attention and I bring myself to allow, permit with acute attention. I'm not giving, looking away from those anxieties. I'm actually looking for them. In fact, I'm looking for the sensations, but
yeah.
I'm giving up my resistance to it. I'm harmonizing with it. I'm actually staying with it, sitting with
And
it.
your attachment? You,
Absolutely. Attachment as well as anything negative. So
yeah,
the entire spectrum of emotions from negative to positive,
yeah,
minus love. Love is it can be at the level of attachment where it's needy, but
yes,
love can also be at the level of divinity, which is
yeah,
presence, and
yeah,
which in which you lose yourself to love. You
yes.
know.
My father used to talk about harmony, and when I
Mm.
was young, I kind of, what's this harmony?
Yeah.
But but I once did I forget now what it's called, an NLP exercise in a group, and
Mm.
they took step by step. There's a word for it. Time. I don't know. Anyway,
Mm.
and I got to the second last step,
Mm.
and I forget now the questions they asked, and my answer to myself was peace. And then I
Mm.
knew the last one was harmony.
Yeah, yeah. It's we give up resistance, then there is harmony. I mean, we can't kind of run after harmony. Okay, there will be harmony. I'm chasing harmony. It doesn't show up when we give. So this idea of the second chakra is also approached masculine and feminine fashion. One is this idea that I feel. I go towards it. I give energy to my feelings, particularly of the positive feelings, so that
Yeah,
their sensations show up for me. Now I can give up resistance and I can just see them, observe them as they are. But I
yeah,
also approach them through the Vipassana-like method, which is that Buddhist idea of anitya bodh, which is as if you are neither attached nor detached nor averse of whatever is showing up, and you are fully present and giving up resistance, but you're fully present. So then it dissolves. Now you look for the next more subtle sensation. Now you give up resistance to it and attachment or aversion to it, and now
yeah.
even that dissolves. Then you subtle, further subtle, and till there is very little sensation.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, with this peeling away and dissolving, um, what the sensation becomes is just information.
No, there is nothing left. Like you are paying attention to it, and it continues to get. You are giving up resistance to it. You're staying with it, and
Mm.
you're looking at actual sensation. I do that regularly with my clients. Recently, a woman who had a heartbreaking separation from a relationship, a long-standing relationship, and due to a complete misunderstanding, the man just said that you betrayed me when she hadn't, and he completely disconnected from her because of his own anxieties and the stories that his whatever
Yeah,
had came up with him from his childhood because of father's or parents' separation. So now she was completely helpless. She has no way to convince him that there is nothing that I've done, and she was completely heartbroken. So now, how can you counsel such a person? So what happened with in conversation? It's happening regularly. Is so you, of course, invite them to vent a little bit. They do talk about what has gone on, and then there is a little conversation on which emotions are present. Don't set aside the conversation. I acknowledge the pain. Tell me
yeah,
what is the nature of pain that you feel. What are the words for? What are the feeling words?
yes,
And it takes some time for people to dissociate from what am I, why am I feeling, and the justification for that, explanation for that, to I'm feeling pure sadness and complete despair and complete uh, there's actual profound hopelessness, helplessness that I'm feeling, and underneath anxiety, fear. The most negative is fear. At the heart of all negative feelings is fear.
yeah,
So
yeah,
once they've identified this, then I invite them to close their eyes, and I invite them to peel the label fear and be with the fear. Feel it fully. Approach it. Feel it fully. Give up resistance to it. You are your feelings are valid. You're entitled to feel. You don't have to justify. You don't have to explain it to yourself or to another person. You don't even have to understand it, why you're feeling it. Your feelings are still valid. Feel, where are they and what are they? Pain, where is it, what is it? Doesn't take too long, probably 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And the person begins to say that I'm no longer able to find it. Then I invite them to again invoke it. Now think
yeah,
about the guy who's left you, and there is sadness. Look for it. So now I feel it again. Now you again peel away the conversation, peel away the labels, and feel the raw sensations. They keep paying attention, invoke it, give up resistance to it. Stop giving meaning and significance, which is conversational, to what you're feeling. Just feel the raw feeling. Just be with the raw feeling. Sit with it,
yeah,
and it begins to dissolve. Ultimately, in one cycle, or generally in two maximum, rarely in three, people say, I can't feel the pain. I'm really feeling free. I'm feeling as if there is no heaviness and there's no. It's not that what happened did not happen. It's just that the emotional baggage is completely gone. And now, when I look towards the future, I do invite them to look towards their future. then it is the future looks free. It's possible to create a new kind of, okay, I'm ready to dance there. I'm ready to go there. I don't know what
Yeah,
happens, but
yeah.
so it doesn't take very
It's
long.
interesting.
Mm,
When I'm not sure if I mentioned to you that I did an integral coaching program in
mhm,
Canada. Integral
mhm.
coaching Canada, the toughest thing I've ever done, but it the best coaching program by
Wow.
hundreds times.
Who led
And
that? Who led that?
it was Joanna Hunt and Laura Devine.
Mhm,
Um,
mm. You
uh,
mentioned, now I remember. Yeah, that
yeah,
was a big one. Yes.
yeah, and as part of coaching in the beginning, um, when we design the program, we do two things. Well, we do quite a few things, but two of the things we do is we give our clients a metaphor which they accept or don't accept, um, for their current way of being and in their new way of being.
Yes.
Um, and
Mm,
so, and then the second part is that we give them a self-observation exercise, so that they can become intimately familiar with their current way of being. We leave out the new way of being at this stage. And so every day they need to notice when their current way of being is coming up. And it's normally something specific,
mhm.
whatever it is, and and um, and their response to that, for example. And then there is a set of questions that we normally ask them to journal on in the evenings. And so they do this for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the next session. And those questions that I use now come down to, so, what triggered the response? Um, what, what was your uh, internal conversation at that time? What what emotion did you feel? And be specific. So it may be the same
Yeah.
emotion every day, but it's about getting more and more specific. So first time they say fear, second time they say anxiety, third time, so they get
Yeah.
deeper
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
deeper into it. But then the next part of that question is really important. It says something like, "What sensation did you feel in the moment?"
Mm,
And the thinking that I remember from the program is that we tend to think that the order is, I think I'm angry, therefore, and I feel I'm angry, and then so I punch the person, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
And we forget, if I talk about a warm flooding that happens when you
Mm,
lose your temper, we all know that, but we ignore that. But we were told that psychologists have found that it's actually the other way around. So the more you can come to recognize, and that every emotion has a physical
mm,
sensation.
mm.
Okay, so the more you can understand, feel, notice, be aware of the sensation, the more you can say, I remember this warm flooding. It didn't end well last time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and so you bring choice back into your response.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And one of the teachers that I did the breathwork program with at Thailand, a Greek man, Ishi was his name, and he brought us to be aware that uh, that when something shows up, say something shows up, somebody said something, or a thought showed up. Now, um, in response to that, we some coping mechanism wants to, if we are unable to be with it, like we are unable to stand it, we are not able to integrate it. Integration is just staying present and not resisting the sensation. So if we are not able to do that, then some coping mechanism will show up. He says that one of the most actively used coping mechanism is thinking. So you will attack the matter by thinking. Now you are no longer on the sensation. You are somehow disengaged, and now you're thinking about the
Yeah.
matter. You're the
It's your
sensation.
story.
No, you've
Yeah.
disconnected already.
Yes.
Like like
Yeah.
for example, that I am bored. So now I've got something to say about it. What shall I do? And I've got interpretation of it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's not real.
And it's not real. And the other coping mechanisms could be eating, drinking, going for a walk, talking. I mean, I start talking when I'm something shows up, then I start talking or crying or all kinds of coping mechanisms. While there is only one thing that heals, that's to be fully with the sensation, stay
Yes.
there, and not do anything. Sleeping
Yeah.
is one of them, he says. He says your body will make you feel drowsy and your mind will make you fall asleep. But if you, because that's another coping mechanism, he says.
Yes.
So he says, acknowledge the sleep and come back to the sensation. Acknowledge the drowsiness, come back to that. So you are actually resisting some sensation when an untimely sleep is coming upon you. That your body is trying to resist it in a variety of ways.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's the second chakra. And without acknowledging the second chakra, without dissolving the sense, without honoring our sensations, honoring our feeling and emotions,
Yes.
there is no going to the energy doesn't go to the higher chakras. The next chakra is freedom to take action. It is not going to be available unless we honor our free feelings. So sometimes people these days are feel caught up in procrastination, or I know clearly what has to be done, but my will does not have power. Will is the masculine idea of the same chakra, the third chakra, freedom and will. You
Yes.
know, so
Yes.
so it's as if it's not available to me because the third, it's complete. It doesn't appear logical, but now I can see when I ask people about, you can very clearly see a pattern when people are not present to their feelings. Quite often we are brought up to ignore our feelings. If something pains you, jump 3 times. What are you
Yes.
crying about? You know.
Yeah.
So that's what the book that I was talking about is this Anodia Judith's Eastern Body, Western Mind.
Oh, okay.
I'll,
All right.
I'll share the name with you if it interests you.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, Eastern Body, Western Mind. Anodia Judith.
Eastern body, Western mind, did you say?
Yes, yes. Eastern Body, Western Mind. Anodia Judith.
Okay.
It's it's as if an omnibus on chakra system. There are certain subtle points which I find in disagreement with, or I find refinement is possible, but other things, it's very comprehensive. It's an extraordinary text, which is as if you begin to see how every pattern has developed into our life,
Yeah.
whether from parents or upbringing, or and how you can heal some of those
Yeah.
patterns like that.
So I'm nearly finished reading that, or learning, I would think, the Alan Seale book. And I was thinking today, I need to go back to Leon VanderPol's book and just go through. I mean, the first part I'll go through fairly quickly. I think it'll come back to me, and then do the practices that
He talks about, yeah, yeah. It works. I mean, Leon's coaching works in this fashion that, and I am not practicing it as well anymore. I suspect that, there is so little doing involved in his work because that's the allowing
yeah,
being
yeah,
side of it, that your ego is not happy just letting things happen through through the spirit, but
yeah,
it leaves my clients most deeply satisfied if I'm able to bring Leon
yeah.
live a meeting.
You might like to, if you haven't already, read Alan Seale's book.
Hmm.
Um,
No,
you should
I can't see it. You'll have to read it. Okay,
read it
because
to Will.
right.
Create a world that
What is it
works.
called? Oh,
Create
yes, creating a world, right.
that
Oh,
works.
yes, that's right. It's that Alan Seale, of course, is that four level
Yeah,
one,
he starts off
four
with the
steps,
four. Yeah,
right.
it is. Look, I understand that it's come at the right time for me.
Hmm.
Um, but it's probably, well, it is the most incredible coaching book I've ever.
Wow, wow.
Um, and I mean, it just takes the word again is several levels, um, and it's about becoming a transformational presence,
Hmm.
effectively. Although, and he uses that word. There's no chapter on it or anything like that, or entitled that. Um, and he he brings in quantum physics, uh, and in a way that I can almost understand it.
That's something, of course. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
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 But if we go back to those four levels,
Mm,
we spend most of our time in drama and in situation where we're fixing the drama,
mm,
uh, and our clients do as well. But as soon as we ask the question, um, "Who do you want to be here?"
mm.
Um, it brings back a choice to be to to it opens up potential and
Yeah,
possibility.
yeah. And for a transformation, I mean, you
Uh,
let go of your old way of being, and something new some new way
yeah,
of being wants to come up.
yeah, and I think that we, as coaches, we use this term transformational coaching for big change. You
Yeah,
know, transactional is little change, transformational is big. And we don't understand what transformation really is.
yeah.
Uh,
Mm. Yeah.
and so,
Say
so
more.
if, if, to take it to that level, as we said just now, but also to bring in something beyond our three-dimensional world with the quantum physics. It's,
Yeah,
we're giving form to possibility. Um,
yeah.
really powerful. Yeah.
Very, very powerful. And what you spoke about reminds me of Otto Scharmer's U theory. I don't know if I mentioned it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He talks
Yeah.
about these questions like what wants to happen, and as
Yes.
if the future is here, and as if the possibility, his approach is
Yes.
that.
It's the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've forgotten that. I've got it on my shelf.
Oh, you
It's,
have. You have.
yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
a thinner version. I've got, the principles of U theory. It's very small, and
Yes. Yeah.
how to run the workshops for that. And it's I think, a very powerful breakthrough idea. These couple of ideas, possibility, is a very powerful idea.
Yeah.
Somehow I remember once I witnessed coaching of a woman who was something around 66, 60, 66, and she had spent 40 years in an abusive marriage. And although her children had grown up, they had their families, and they were calling her to her that come and stay with us. But the possibility of a life outside marriage did not exist. I mean, she
Yes.
just couldn't create that it's possible. And
Yeah.
as soon as she created it, she first moved to her sons, and then she transformed her husband and moved back. So
Okay.
it's just
Yeah.
as if
Yeah.
it,
But that's where so many coaches are sitting in those first two levels,
yeah,
and restricting the difference that they can actually make.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and the fourth level is it's about opportunity, what's emerging here.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. What wants to happen, or what's
what
emerging?
wants to happen? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. What's the future that wants to emerge in this scenario? And it is such a spiritual idea. It's about that allowing, it's about sitting back and appreciating and paying attention to what is not yet and yet wants to rise. So
yeah,
it's not an active linear thinking, okay, what is the next level? Now that you've gone through one, two, three, what is fourth? No. You're
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
going for the end game right now. What is the max level that you
Yeah.
can see right now?
It engages in intuition, I think, rather
Yeah,
than
yeah,
um, I, what I've grown to, I think, understand from this book is that when we're in our head, when we our thought, we go to the ideas. When
yeah,
we're in intuition, we the idea comes to us, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's simplistic, but it works for me. And then the
No,
third
it does.
is
It's powerful.
is is heart, and that is what's the truth of this. Um, so it's
Yeah.
yeah,
You're engaging at so many levels. It's so beautiful. Um, uh, and you know, I'm reminded of the question that you spoke about, like being one with the creator. To me, the idea appears to be that when I give up being, when I give up this, when I'm okay to let go of resistance, which is as if, which is resistance to being one with the creator.
yes,
And that resistance is present mostly as I am this. I am Amit, and I've got to make this happen. Now I'm thinking of this. Now I'm dealing with this. Now, as I give one at a time up, one thought up, one urge up, one will, one concern, one agitation, and then what is left is this unity. This,
yeah,
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 and in that this arises what wants to happen, as if the future is already present in terms of auto Sharma's view. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
In
Wow.
Yeah,
It's,
this is really powerful. And in the system of this chakras, the third being about doing and feel and freedom. The fourth is about love, which is this level of the heart. It's this, and in that level again, the masculine idea is I love, and the feminine idea is I am loved, and I am open to receive love.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you know, so in that area that I'm open to receive ideas. I'm
yes,
open to I'm open to okay. I'm not sure looking for a particular kind of idea, which I
yeah,
already know what should happen. But
yes,
I'm willing to be with what newly shows up,
yeah,
emergent future.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to, I always try and associate and integrate
Yeah.
uh, stuff. And I'm thinking of the four levels again.
Mm,
It really made a difference in my thinking.
mm,
Um, and it's almost like the, the four levels are horizontal, and what you're talking about is vertical.
mm, mm,
Um,
mm. Yeah.
because I think a lot of the things, I think drama and situation probably fit more into the desires, into the masculine
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
part, and
But
the other two fit into
yeah.
the feminine. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, you're right. The who am I called to be and what wants to happen? What is
yeah,
the opportunity here?
yeah,
You are as if kind of paying attention and sitting back and allowing emergence. Yes, absolutely. But it is, you know, in this chakra philosophy, the although we operate at all levels simultaneously, it's not that yet the philosophy or the system talks about how a certain higher engagements are only possible if we are willing to find or heal or reassure ourselves as far as the lower systems are concerned.
yeah,
You know, if we are disengaged, if we are engaged at the level of survival, doubt, anxiety, then what wants to happen? We won't be able to be with that much silence to let it emerge.
yeah,
You know, if
yeah,
we are there so much guilt and shame, then willingness for heart to be open to receive
yeah,
God's, you know, I am loved, I am redeemed, I am forgiven. It's not going to be possible because I am
yeah,
sinful. I'm ashamed, I'm guilty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost like levels of consciousness, spiral
Yeah,
dynamics and things like that.
yeah,
And it's kind of once you've got the message at the first chakra,
yeah.
you include that message and transcend it to the next one.
E-
Include,
Exactly. This is
yeah,
exactly the language Judith uses. This is exactly what she's talking. It's, you integrate it and you rise with the what you have taken, and the lower chakras come along with you as you rise. And it's not that some level of higher chakras are not already active. So there is intuitively we are aware, but it's not
yeah,
that. It's just that there's so much going on as far as anxiety, engagement, and all of that is concerned that we are unable to be with the subtle. It gets subtle. It gets more
yeah,
subtle.
yes,
More difficult. We need more spaciousness to put finger at to point at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at whatever level, whatever chakra you get to,
Mm.
you may still go back, but you'll understand that you've gone
Yeah.
back. You'll come up
Absolutely.
again. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
yeah,
and to integrate another system into this system, uh, the Indian system says that your breath is
yes,
actually the channel which will open these restrictions. So you can also gain certainty by breathing well. You know, that kind of you can also generate reassurance through breath. You can
yes,
also heal feelings through breath. So
yeah,
pranayama or just breathing properly, breath work. That's
yeah,
another system that comes into
yeah.
it.
And once again, that's about going because it takes you into your intuition,
Yeah,
into your point of stillness.
it
Uh,
does. And it does. You give up
you must
resistance
start
and
off when you're in your head because you're
yeah,
breathing shallowly, very shallow
yeah,
and
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
And then, yeah,
And you give up simply, and you become more and more open with your breath and less resistance till there
yeah,
is stillness, till
yeah,
there is you are in your heart. And
yeah,
that's the opportunity for heart-centered breathing, as we talk about, good for stress, overcoming stress, overcoming anxiety.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, I hate to do this, but I've got another engagement in 10 minutes.
Oh, this is a beautiful juncture to complete it, Lauron. But Lauron, how do you feel about our conversation if I was to put it on LinkedIn for as a satsang that we were just talking about?
No,
What
that's,
came about? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
I'll put it out there if you feel all right, and feel free to share it. Or it's just about. I love the way that it organically flows between us.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and just the way these are things that we wouldn't just talk to anyone about.
yeah,
And what we met 3, 4 times,
yeah.
and yeah, there's an affinity. Yeah,
Absolutely. It is. It's beautiful. It's
yeah,
beautiful. It's a gift.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.